guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. We're going to finally finish our look at Shine On You Crazy Diamond today by checking out the actual verse sections now, and there's a little interlude section and the little outro arpeggio section. So we are almost at the end. I appreciate you guys had to follow along all these 4-part video series, but it's what it takes to get something like this down correctly. So let's start here. When the vocals first come in at the 8-minute and 40-second mark, the part comes in. So it starts, there's really no guitar chords there, but it's based around a G minor chord. And the opening vocals, and then we had this first like. G minor. So you can kind of play a G minor really lightly. And then David Gilmour's first like, that's kind of 5 on the D to 3 on the G, and then 5 on the D to 5 on the G, then it release. Over to the 4th fret there on the D. And that's when the volume starts to get risen up, and he actually plays a B flat major chord. When you first hear it, though, you hear that G in there on the high E string to the B flat major 6 chord. So you actually hear that, and then so that little thing was, I started with the 5th fret here on the A, and then I came to this power chord here off the 6th fret on the A string, 8th fret on the D. Then move that 1st finger back down to the 5th fret, keeping that 8 on the D string. Then the 3rd fret power chord off the A string. Then the 1st fret. Then the 1st fret off of the low E string. Then kind of bend and release there at the 3rd fret. A little different fills each time here, but the second verse is going to be very similar to this one. So it's a bend and release there at the 3rd fret, over the 1st fret there on the low E string, and then 1, 2, and then we're back to the beginning with kind of the G minor chord. And the next fill looks like this. Goes in the same chord. So that little fill was a bend and release at the 6th fret there on the B string. Then a hold, a bend at the 5th fret on the G string. And then as you release that, you're going to grab the 6th fret on the G. And back to that B flat major. Same thing we did before. And then we had this. So that's just some double stops here. 13 on the B and the high E string together. 3 times. Down to, so 13, down to 10, and then slide 8 to 10, and then down to 1. All right, and we end this with kind of, he does this the same way both times, really. It looks like this. Into a little interlude section. All right, so that is 5 on the first melody. So, which is just 5 on the D, 3, 5 on the G, bend and release. Then kind of the same thing, but start on the 4th fret on the D string. This time you can pull off the 3 though, so we have this. Then start on the 3rd fret on the D, and do the same lick. This went a long bend down to the 2nd fret on the D. So we have this. Now this part's really cool. So it's 3, 5, 6 on the A string. And then kind of Hendrixy here. We're gonna slide 8 to 10 on the A string, and then bar the 8th fret on the D and the G. Play that, and hammer on 10 on the D, and back to the 2/8. Then you back to the 10 on the A string, and it slides down to the 7th fret. So we have this. Now you slide down to 7. Now you're going to pick across this chord. So we have this. So 7 on the A, 5 on the D. You're going to do a bar there at the 5th fret there. 5 on the D, 6 on the G, 5 on the B, and back down to the 6th fret on the G and the 5th fret. The 5th string there. So we have this. So you skip the D string on the way back down. Then you come up to this chord, which is the 8th fret on the A and the D, 7th fret on the G, and 6th fret on the B. So pick from the 5th all the way up to the 2nd string, then back down to the 4th string, and then we're going to go to the open D. It's kind of odd. We have open D, and then the 1st fret on the high E string, back to the open D, and then play 2 on the high E to 3 on the B. And that's the end of the first verse. And then we get to this interlude section, which is like it's not really a harmonized part. It's 2 guitars an octave apart. The lowest one in the mix is the loudest, so that's one I'm going to really focus on. And it looks like this. Back to the verse. So it's a cool little melody. We're going to start here with the 5th fret there on the G string. So that's a bend, then bend and release, pull off to 3, and back to the bend. Now we're going to bend it just a half step, and then play 3, 5, then a pre-bend half step, pull and release. Then up to 7. So we have this. So we have this. From there, 7, 8 on the G, 6, 8 half step bend on the B string. So we have this. Then a half step bend at the 7th fret on the G. And pick 7. And then a quick bend there, whole step bend at the 8th fret on the G string. Pull off 8, 7, and pick 5. And then it's a quick little bend and release there at the 3rd fret, down to 1, then 1, 2. If you want to play that harmony part, they started up here at the 18th fret. So it just... So it's kind of just the same thing. So just trace what I did an octave up. That's really all you have to do instead of going through every note again. All right, now the second verse is very similar. We're going to start just sort of the quiet little G minor chord, and then we have just slightly different licks is all it is. And he's still kind of doing the octave thing. So we just come in with this first lick. It's very similar. Resolving to that 4, and then so I'm not pretty much know what we're doing here. slightly different here. We have, so that's just a bend at the 3rd fret on the A, then pick it normal, then the same thing, bend on the low E string 3rd fret, down to 1, and slide 1 to 2, and then we're back to the G. A little bit different lick at the end here. And you can really play each verse the same way. They're so similar, it's not a big deal. But if you really want to nail it down, you can just do this. So that's a bend and release a couple times at the 6th fret on the B. And then holds that bend. A quick trill between 3 and 5 there on the G. And then back to the B flat. And then this up here, he kind of just goes straight down the second time a second. He just goes 13, 10, 8, and kind of down to 1. And then we have the same ending. All right, then we get to the sax solo. So I'm going to switch back to like a clean setting here. Now the sax solo basically starts with just that section over it. All right, so while he's doing that, you start hearing this arpeggio pattern that starts to come in there. And there's 2 different ones that go throughout until the song fades out. The first one is this. All right, so that's based off of that little part. You're gonna have to hold it with some different fingerings to get the full melody in there. So what we're gonna do is the open high E, 6th fret with your 1st finger there on the B string, open G string, and then the 8th fret on the D string. So what we're gonna do is pick across. You don't actually need to really pick, you're not really picking the G string here. So we have the open high E, then 6 on the B, then 8 on the D. Then you're going to do the same pattern, except now it's going to be the 8th fret on the high E, so use your 3rd finger for that. And then your pinky to grab the 10th fret, and then back down to 8. So it goes from the open string to 8, 10, 8. I'm picking that up, up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down. Just repeat. From there we have this. Back. All right, so I'm playing like the complete patterns. You'll hear them do slight variations on them. Whether it was just, sometimes I'll play the complete pattern, sometimes they'll just they'll do it like this. They kind of like pause on something. But the complete pattern the second time around is this. So let me just show you the complete way of doing it first. So 6th fret on the high E and 8th fret on the B string, 8th fret on the D string. So pick the same picking pattern there. Then down to 5. Then back to 6. So this. Repeat. Now just take that and move it down 1 fret. So now it's the 5th fret on the high E and 7 on the B and the D. Then down to 4 there on the high E string. Back to 5. So we have this. Now what he does is he changes the melody a little bit on the high E string. He goes 6, then 5, 4, 5. So we have this. First time through, then second. So let me do that without talking. All right, so we have this starting from the 6th fret. And then back the one that we started with. So it's going to play this quite a bit and then go back to the Now, like I said, if you want to do it just exactly like he does, he's going to just basically pause a little bit on the top note. So then he'll go back into the pattern. So you can kind of really choose what you want to do. I like playing straight through. Kind of blends better with the music. All right, so that is about it for this monstrous breakdown of Shine on Your Crazy Diamond. It was requested for a long time, and I didn't do it because I knew it'd be a 4-day marathon, but we are to the end of the marathon, so now it's all worth it. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you again soon at GuitarLessons365.com.